So what are some of the insights about the industry that you've gained coming out of your 18 months as IAB chairman?
Well, if there's one thing that this industry has on a regular basis is change. It is so dynamic from one day to the next. And so if there's been one common thread to my tenure is that every day seems to offer a different challenge, a different opportunity for the digital advertising business.
It seems like marketers as well as publishers and everybody are trying to keep up with it. So it seems, did you learn anything about how to stay on top of the game?
I think that the learning to be gained here is that status quo is a very temporary situation, and you can't get comfortable with it. You have to always push ahead, and as Wayne Gretzky says, I skate to where I think the puck is going to be. And that is a critical strategy, I think, for any company in this business.
Great. When you look back at your tenure, what are you most proud of having accomplished during that period?
I'm very proud of the work that we've done to drive the coalition of trade associations to devise a practice for self-regulation. Very, very important, and is even of greater importance now that the topic is heating up in Washington. I'm also proud of the work that we did on the Network and Exchange Committee for certifying networks with the objective of giving advertisers and agencies the comfort that when they use a network that their ad can be placed in content that they can be comfortable will be appropriate. And third, last but not least, of course, is the fact that I was part of the team that brought Randall Rothenberg back to the IAB.
That's fabulous, and we all appreciate that very much. I know that you mentioned the networks and exchanges, and that you were naturally very involved in the new quality assurance guidelines. I've noticed that many companies, it started at 16 by the end of the year, but then earlier today I learned it's over 20 now, have committed to adopting these guidelines. So I'm wondering, what's next in terms of furthering awareness, furthering adoption, and then what would be next beyond maybe this first step in standardizing the industry?
Well, the task at hand now is to educate the advertisers and their agencies about what these guidelines and what certification really means, and to make them feel comfortable that this is a important certification that should be required before a network is purchased for an advertising campaign. Given that they are as concerned about what type of content their ads are placed in as we are, we think that this will be, that the certification will be a welcome addition, similar to the Good Housekeeping seal of approval. And we're hopeful that networks that do not get certified will cease to be part of media plans in the future.
So it's kind of keep up or you're out of the game.
That's right. That's
right. So you've been involved in this industry longer than the majority of the people here, I would imagine. What has been the most remarkable to you as you've watched the marketplace develop and evolve?
What I think has been very interesting, and of course, I'm one of the oldest guys in the industry. I like to think I'm more experienced than anything else. But
that's what I meant.
But is that the companies that were really hot in the late 90s are not very hot today. And I think it'll be even more interesting to see of the hot companies today, how many of them are hot in 5 years. And it relates to what we were talking about earlier, and that is status quo is really a space and time. And if you get comfortable with it, you will not succeed in the long term.
Do you have any predictions you want to throw out there about companies in the next few years?
It's hard to predict. If I really had accurate idea of what would really happen, I'd probably be in a little different business, such as picking stocks or that sort of thing. So I just think that those that think they are king of the mountain today may be surprised to find where they are in the future.
Yeah. One question that I'm asking almost everybody who sits here is, what is one issue in the industry that either, that keeps you up at night, but it could also be, an industry issue relating to your job, your career, your future, and then what could be done to resolve the concern?
I think the issue you probably heard that keeps people up the latest is what's going on in Washington with privacy. And the fact of the matter is that relevant advertising is good for the consumer and it's good for our industry. The issue is that consumers don't know how information is collected and how it's used, which requires a lot of education, which is not easy. Now, the coalition of trade organizations that have formulated a manner of tagging ads so that a consumer can see who is targeting them and gives them the ability to opt out of such targeting, I think will go a long way toward educating the consumer as to why and how they are being targeted. On the other hand, if consumers don't want to be targeted, they should start recognizing that they're going to have to pay for the content because our publishers are not in this business for philanthropic purposes. There's no reason why they should give their content away for free. And if a consumer is not going to give them enough information so that they can sell that consumer to an advertiser at a profit, then that consumer needs to pay. And that will be another part of the educational process.
I was going to say, it might take a lot for consumers to really understand that dynamic, even though it's kind of been introduced with TV for, the last half a century.
Think about it this way. If, for instance, a consumer opts for do not track, and all of a sudden they go to a website that they used to go to and they're blocked, can't get in it unless they pay a fee. I suspect they will understand pretty quickly that they have a choice of either paying that fee or giving the site at which they're used to consuming content the information about themselves that will allow that publisher to monetize those set of eyeballs at a profit. There's a quid pro quo here, and consumers, given the value or understanding the value they receive, are willing to give up almost anything when it comes to privacy. I mean, look, you got 600 million people on Facebook today. How concerned are they about privacy?
The news a lot for people's concern about privacy, but you can always argue if that's the media seeing the issue of privacy or if it's the consumers
Well, look,
themselves.
if you're concerned about it, don't be on Facebook.
Right, exactly.
Right.
So have you been available to see the presentations so
I've
far?
seen every single presentation.
What's your favorite so
They've
far?
been outstanding. I loved Wendy Clark from Coke.
Yeah.
I thought she was dynamic, smart, learned a lot from it. I think that the other presentations have also been excellent, and I think it's a real tribute to the IAB to be able to draw a record audience, over 750 people this year. It's becoming the conference to go to. It's also a lot of fun because most of the people are in the sales business, and those sellers, I may be a little biased myself, but tend to have a good time, and as a result, everybody comes has one too.